Hello, Valia. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing well. Can you hear me?
I can. Yeah.
Okay. How about now?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you.
Okay. Good. Good, good, good. Okay. Let's see here. Welcome. I was wondering if anybody was going to come today. It's like one of those days.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How you been?
Good. Good. I'm giving myself a break. I've been good. I was kind of rough this week. I'm gonna blame it on the eclipse. So yeah, energies have been high.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been, I'm so used to it now, just like the ups and downs. I'm just like always assuming something's going on. And I just
Mhm.
like work through it because, like what else am I going to do? And then sometimes I do just come to a halt, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I need a
Yeah.
break. Which is why I don't really hold a lot of like, oh my God, I have to get this done. I'm just
Yeah.
like yesterday I wanted to work on the TikTok challenge and I just ended up doing something completely different, which felt really good, right? So I like to just do whatever. It's all getting done. Whatever I get done is exactly what I need to get done. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So are
That
you
makes sense to
relaxing?
me now. I'm starting
Oh,
I'm starting to I'm starting to see it. I think there's definitely a belief that telling myself that it's not going to get done if I don't push, push, push. And so I have to prove that wrong. And yeah. So yeah, like this morning I woke up. I had a headache for 3 days in a row, which is not something that I normally, experience. When I get overly stressed, I do get headaches and migraines and to the point to where I feel nauseous. And so Monday I took my pills, like I took headache medicine, went to bed, still had it the next day. It was like lingering. And then I had it all through the night last night. And so I woke up this morning and I'm like, okay, well, my neck is sore, which is usually an indication of stress. So maybe I just need to stop focusing on the emotional energetics course again and just look at my dance channel. And it's interesting because it's like what I was focusing on my emotional energetics course were like the little lead magnets, right? The mini lead magnets. I got so many ideas and I started recording them on my phone and just kind of collecting all the ideas. And I don't even know when it happens, but the stress comes on. And yeah, it is like the thoughts. I was just reading your message. It is the thought energies, right? I don't even realize when it happens, but it showed up this time when I was looking at the lead magnets that I was studying, the people that I gave my email to and got lead magnets from. I was looking at that and I was trying to say, like, what would I do different? I was just trying to work on it a little by little. It was like 30 minutes a day, but it turned into like an hour a day. And there was a point where I just got overwhelmed and I didn't even realize it. It was just, and then so by day 3 of the headache, I was, the fact that the headache didn't go away, I realized, okay, well, that's clearly an indication that I need a break, even though I wasn't even working very hard on it. But it's the, it's the fear and the panic and the need to, there's like this tension. I need to finish it even though I'm just working on it an hour a day, that ends up causing so much anxiety in my body. And so yeah, and so it's pretty interesting just kind of listening to that. But now that I look back at what I've done, it's, I'm definitely seeing a progress. I'm seeing progress in both my dance channel and my emotional energetics course. So more than what I would have done, if I was under stress. I will say that I guess there's a part of me that wants to see faster progress, and that's where that comes from, like that stress comes from.
Yeah, I understand that. And I think when I told Robert, when we did a 30-day yoga course that we could probably get it done in like a week or two. And it took
Mhm.
us like 3 months. And so that taught me just to any task, just add like times three to it and just be surprised if it's not more, because especially when we're learning, right? We're learning, like I was learning lighting, video editing, recording, tech. I was learning online platforms and just so much stuff. And it was taking me so long. And then I just said, you know what? I'm just going to accept that and expect it, because me trying to fight it over and over again is just proving that like I'm on, there's a learning curve to everything. And I'm learning a lot all at the same time. And when I'm putting myself into stress, it was just affecting my ability to move. Right. But I did hear something else that helped me once. They said, someone said, like you're never going to be done with anything. Like there's always going to be more that you can do. And it's, being an entrepreneur, it's a never ending thing, which is good because we have job security, right? And,
Mhm.
our products are always evolving and our services are always evolving. And, nothing is ever going to reach like some crazy level of perfection right away. It just gets better as we go and as we gain more experience. So I just decided, like, whatever I get done today is exactly what I meant to get done. And I'll listen to myself and shift and pivot and turn and do things like that accordingly. But my energy is something I have to protect, right? So if I'm going into like stress, I'm like, no. If I'm going into overwhelm, I'm like, no, because I've had adrenal fatigue and I've had burnout, and I'm like, I don't let myself go there because I'm useless at that. I'm just like, I just can't. So maintaining my own energy to me is more important than getting anything done, because that's my priority, and I'm the only one that can do it, right?
Right. Right. Yeah. And so, yeah, and I completely understand that. I completely, that's one of the things I teach. And in this area, and it's just surprising. It's just surprising that something that I worked on very little, the past few days, I didn't put, you know, I didn't push myself even over 2 hours a day on it. And it's still stirred a bunch of chemicals within my body, a bunch of stress chemicals. So it's just pretty interesting. But yeah, I appreciate the um the length of time that it took you to make a yoga class. I think Robert mentioned something like that about his, something he recorded, how long it takes. We think it's going to take really quickly. It's true. There's a big learning curve, and yeah, that's helpful to know.
Oh yeah, for sure. And the learning curve is really just us learning more today than we did yesterday, right? Because it's different for everybody, and it's different based on what we already knew, and it's different based on our ability to sit with ourselves and our ability to learn, and how we learn. It's just really different for everyone. So the learning curve is different for everything that we learn, right? Whether it's tech or creativity or being gentle on ourselves and learning how to balance our energy and putting ourselves as a priority, and our energy center or in our energy systems as a priority. I mean, that was a big learning curve for me, right? I hit burnout a few times. So, and then, utilizing pressure appropriately. Like when I feel pressure, I remember in my legal job, we would have deadline after deadline after deadline and just spur of the moment things. And there was an employee, and she would run around the office like with her head cut off, like putting we used faxes back then, it was years ago, typing up the faxes and running around and skipping our lunch break. And we've got 4 minutes to file something. And I realized that like me putting myself in that state would just screw everything up. So I just stayed calm under the chaos. I was just like, okay, our deadline to file this is at 4:30. Let me just go through the motions, not pay attention to the time, not stress about it. Because as soon as I started stressing about it, I was getting in my own way and everything was taking longer and I was going into a panic. And so that kind of taught me, like, just stay calm and use the pressure positively. And then, like, it's funny because I got the skill to have like 3 or 4 things due at the same time, and I'm just like swiftly moving through it. It's not even phasing me, right? And then I began to use the pressure. It's like, oh, I'll just wait till tomorrow to do that. I know how long it'll take me now. I know that, I'll give myself 2 extra hours in case there's any hiccups. And so I was able to use pressure properly in a way that benefited me. But some people, when there's pressure, they don't like it. So that's just something we have to know about ourselves. And, can we use it in a positive way? Can we use stress in a positive way? Because even stress can help us out, but as soon as we're not using it in a positive way, we're misusing it
Mhm.
to,
Mhm.
like, for whatever reason we want to punish ourselves or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but I was going to tell you, I had this breakdown once, and I love breakdowns because they always lead to breakthroughs, but they're never fun while you're in it.
Mm.
But I had this breakdown once, and I was just like, my life isn't the way that I want it. I'm not doing anything that I want to do. I feel restricted. I'm not living the life that I want. And I would kind of look to blame, right? But at the same time, I couldn't get out of it. So I couldn't feel it as a me thing because there was nothing that I could do differently. So I would look at other people and be like, would I be here in this situation if it wasn't for this person? And eventually I just caught myself in between a rock and a hard place. And I said, I had this insight, and the insight was, um, I remember being really frustrated about my weight back then too. And so, when we're like judging ourselves. So my insight said, be happy no matter what and eat less. And I was like, isn't that funny? Like, duh, like everybody knows that, but it didn't do anything for me, right? It didn't, I was just like, that's just like if it were that easy, then I would be doing it, right? That's what I
Right.
was thinking. And the next morning, so I just went to sleep and I'm just like frustrated. The next morning, I had another insight. And right when I woke up, the insight was, you're thinking that you can't be happy with the life that you have right now.
Mhm.
Why can't you be happy with the life that you have right now? And I just thought that was really interesting because I was like, yeah, that that like that thought or that insight was right. Like, I am not allowing myself to be happy unless my life looks a certain way. I was like, that's right. I'm not doing that. And then we went out of town, and like 2 days later, I had another insight about the same thing because I was just like pissed off the whole time. Just not really, nobody really knew it but me. I was just like, I'm not letting myself be happy. And the insight was, um, I wonder if I can be happy
Mhm.
right now. And when I got curious about that, I just started laughing because it became an experiment of wonder. Like, I wonder if I can do that. Like, I wonder if I will allow myself to do that. I wonder if that's possible. And then it was like, duh, obviously it's possible. I just have to let myself do it. So, what I learned is we may want, certain things and we want to accomplish certain goals, and everything really is in its own timing. But we have the right to be happy right now the way that things are. We don't have to make ourselves miserable because they're not the way that we think they should be. We can make that choice. And, from that point, I learned that, we only have so much control in life. And every day I can just do my best. But I still want to choose to be happy every day, no matter what. Because, like, why would I want to be miserable? Because miserable doesn't help me reach my goals any faster, but happy does. Right.
Mhm.
And happy is just a more pleasurable place to be. And then once I decided that I was just going to be happy no matter what situation I was in my life, like more opportunities started to come, right? Like more travel started to come and more adventures started to come. And that's what I wanted, was not to be like stuck in a place, and more clients started to come. And I was just looking at it as like an observation and just from a neutral point, I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Because no matter what, I chose not to get super excited, but I chose not to be miserable either. So I was just like, and then it all made sense to me. I was like, this just figures, right? This is just part of the equation. Like, obviously, I just solved for X, right? Be happy now, and then more happy stuff attracts to me, right? We know that manifestation law. So
Mhm.
I just wanted to share that because I went through the whole fear, financial worry, wanting to pay for things and all that. And then when I just said, look, this is my life, I wonder if I could be happy with it just the way it is, no matter what, then I really did just start attracting different energy towards me. So, and it's like a different vibration.
Mhm. Yeah. I think that's something I've definitely been working on, and it's yeah, I think, and it's I think some of it's like a big challenge. Some of the challenge is like recognizing when you're like, I like the other day I realized, like, right now I feel like I'm very happy with what I'm doing right now. For most of the time I'm working on my dance channel. Like, that's everything I've wanted for the past 2 years. Even though I haven't worked, right? I quit my job full time and didn't even allow myself to do it during 2 years that I was off, and have finally allowed myself to do it. And yeah, like the other, probably on Monday or Tuesday, I was like bitching about my part-time job in my head. You know? And so, and and then I don't know how long I was doing that for. It could have been a week, could have been 2 weeks. I don't know how long I've been doing that for, and I just noticed it. And yeah, so it's just because it's like, I know I'm in a really good place right now. I think about the future, which makes me a little scared about some things financially. But obviously that's not even directly in front of me. So why am I thinking about it? But logically, it's like I have to get this business going so I can protect myself in the future of financial issues that may come up. And so it's just this really vicious cycle that I'll get, like, it's like a vortex I'll get sucked into and then not even realize it. But um, yeah, I think I agree with everything you're saying. And I guess it's just more of like, um, catching myself when I slip, catching myself in those thoughts when I slip. But yeah, I, I feel like right now is like the best time, the best way of life that I'm living. Like, there's no, I wouldn't, I'm very lucky right now. My partner's working full time. I wish he wasn't. I wish he could stay. And that's kind of what I want. I want to pay for our bills to where he can stay home and cook. And like, that's what he loves to do. He loves to cook and man the garden, and um and go grocery shopping. He likes doing that kind of stuff and cleaning. And so, like, I just want to bring him home. That's it, and he has to do DoorDash every day. However, I will say there's a benefit to him leaving the house and doing DoorDash. I get to spend time and on my work and actually, focus. So, I mean, it's not the worst.
No, I know. I've like, I want to, like, one of Robert's things is he's like, I just don't want to have to go back to work. Like, he hasn't had like a job since he was like, a teenager probably, or in his 20s. He's just ran the schools since he was young. And, I'm like, man, I wish I could just retire him, So I am like pulling him to be more involved in stuff. But yeah, I wish that too. And I know that, building a business is no small feat, right? We've got to build a lot of the foundation, and we want to make sure the foundation is strong. Otherwise, it's just not sustainable and anything can knock it over, right? So it just takes our energy and it takes work. And I think as long as you're doing that, that's the best that you can do. That's all we can do is show up and follow our guidance and, look at our strategy and make sure to take action where it feels aligned. And that's all we can do. And I'm always questioning, like, am I still moving in the right direction? Does this still feel aligned? Is there something that I'm not seeing? If I were to just throw everything down the drain and just do what I want to do, is it the same? Right. I'm always
Mm.
asking myself these questions because we get caught up, right? We get caught up in what we're doing to where we may not even see something else. So I'm always doing those little thought experiments for myself. But
That's
yeah,
helpful.
yeah.
That's helpful. Like, I think that's really like a list of those questions, like to constantly ask yourself. That's a good, I don't know if that's like a soulpreneur tip or anything like that in an email. I think
Yeah.
that's really helpful.
Yeah, I do say, just always question your goals and just reframe them and just see if, if it, I think I wrote something about that. I think it's on my blog. It's just like repeatedly question your goals all the time because we'll have a vision and we'll keep working to that vision, especially if we're worker bees, right? We're like, okay, I'm working to this vision. Here's this, here's that, without even realizing that the vision changed. So I'm always like checking into what I want, checking in if it still feels aligned and making sure that I'm not just chasing after goal after goal after goal, right? Because
Mhm.
goals can help us reach milestones, but we can also reach milestones without those goals. Like we don't have to have a goal to accomplish something, but it helps.
Yeah.
So yeah, but the other thing about the vortex that you're talking about that came to my mind was, when you notice the thought vortex like opening up. And
Mhm.
even if it sucks you in, just knowing that you're there and seeing that you're there can really be helpful. You're like, because I do that now. I'm like, oh, I'm in this state. Okay, what do I do about it? Nothing. I'll just go for a walk. Like I know that this state will pass. But I also know that if I let it consume me, then it'll probably be a disservice. So I just let it pass. And it tends to pass a lot faster every time. So
Nice. Nice. That's good to know.
yeah.
Good feedback.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about, I'll just do a little bit of this on the video and maybe I'll just share. Um, I wanted to share about the lead magnet. I know that we went over this and well, first I'll say that I finally added the disclosures and the addendum to the intensive course. And I just said, like you could check out the video. It's really just like making sure people understand that the course was created for you guys and just the additions that I made to it as far as like make sure that you're doing this and this and this. It's very simple video. um but one of the things I mentioned is that there's a lot of different kinds of lead magnets, and the PDF is just the simplest. I'm still trying out different lead magnets and I'm still getting the best results with the PDF. So I wanted to share that because people just really like to download easy stuff, right? They really just like to access easy stuff and they want it to be as digestible as possible. So I just created a PDF that I'm going to do a different PDF. And then I still have the Soulpreneur kit. I haven't run any ads or promoted too much except for on my list. And my list is just not entrepreneurs at all. So I'm working on, getting a new list. But I just wanted to reiterate that, the lead magnet, I wish it wasn't called that because it kind of overwhelms, especially the spiritual, energetic awareness in us that says, wait a minute, that just sounds like it sounds selfish in a way, but in reality, it like nobody can experience our energy without something, right? And they can't see what kind of solutions or problems we solve. They have no idea what we do. And that's really, the small valuable solution is something that I would like to call it, because it really does promote trust and connection and a relationship with the people that we can serve, and value, of course. And that's really what we want at the end of the day, is to give them something that they can digest, something that helps them. And then, of course, I always preach, get them off of social media, because social media it's media, right? It's like if we showed up to, any form of media, right? Like even TV is a form of media, but we don't really own anything on social media. And that kind of, I remember when I first realized that, it kind of scared me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm doing all this on social media and I don't own any of it. Like it could just disappear tomorrow. And that's why we want to get the people off of social media, because businesses have been hurt by not doing that. If their followers are all on their YouTube channel, and their sales are all on TikTok or whatever, and then their account disappears and stuff like that. So it's not an extremely safe thing to do, even to keep them on social media. um, I know that I've had friends back when MySpace was a thing. And when it just shut down, you couldn't even find your friends anymore, right? They were just like gone, like these friends that you made all over the world or whatever. And now it's just like, I guess we're just never going to talk again, because you just never had any other way to say hi, right? And I know you're working on that. So I just like to say, let's not put too much thought into it, because I've created so many lead magnets, some that have worked, some that haven't, some that I didn't think would work and did, some that I was like, there's no way that I'm going to get a good result out of this. And it was phenomenal. Right. And others that I put all this work into, and it just like, I was just got like 5 or 6 people. Um, because it really is a game, right? Like at the end of the day, business is a game, and part of it is learning the game. And part of it is, making sure we're having fun while we're playing the game. Um, but really, it's just that if we put too much stress on ourselves, we forget that it's not a game and we're taking it way too seriously. And really just take it lighthearted and just create 3 or 4 or 5 lead magnets, one at a time. Just put them up and see which ones do best. I mean, that's the best thing I've ever done, is just tested multiple things. And the other thing about lead magnets too, or small valuable solutions, I'll call them, is that they attract different kind of people, right? Some certain ones will attract people that like PDFs actually have a habitual pattern of attracting a lot of people that want what you're offering for free, but but the number of people that buy is lower, right? So they're not as qualified, they're not super interested, but other things like small courses have more qualified people entering into them that are really serious about wanting to change something in their life. So we just can't foresee any of that, right? We can't even guess it. It's one of those things you can't think through. You can just kind of look at your history and your pattern and say, oh yeah, this did good last time. Let me see if it'll do good again. I'll just change this. And that's all I ever do. It's more testing, because it is a numbers game. Business and marketing online, it's a numbers game. So, um, so one thing I do is I just don't put any emotion into it anymore. I'm just like, I know it's good. I know it's valuable. I'm excited to give it to them. I'm excited that it'll help them. I really want to build relationships with people. I know that it's valuable and then it's going to give them a solution. But if nobody downloads it and if nobody jumps on, that's okay. I'll just do something else.
Mhm.
So,
Well, that's a very good reminder um about and yeah, that's true. It's like making a social media video. Some of it, one of it might take off and it may not even perform well. I didn't think about that.
mhm, yeah.
Yeah.
And, that's why I'll have a few running at the same time just to see what happens. And sometimes they run their course, so you make a new one, or usually what'll happen is one will work really well, and you'll notice that the you'll get you'll just notice that it's converting, right? It's like, oh, the people that got this lead magnet also were the highest percentage of people that bought this. So that's, when you get more advanced, you start to notice things like that. You're like, oh, everybody that took my course bought this product, but everybody that downloaded the PDF, only 3 people, right? So you
Mhm.
start to notice things like that. It's really like, I know you've got some math history, right?
Mhm.
Uh, so it's like you're always solving for X, right?
Yeah.
It's really just an equation.
Mhm.
And when we put our emotions into it is when we start tripping on our feet and all that. So it's like we get into our own way, and then our expectations are there. And really, it's just a logical thing, especially in the online world. So, yeah. Um, but did you have any questions about your lead magnet or anything you're creating? I know you kind of took a break from that.
I do have questions. So one thing I noticed is that this, so I have the lead magnet of my meditation course, which I could probably just go ahead and um start working on that. And I considered that this morning, but I've been getting several ideas of multiple mini courses that could all act as a lead magnet. And what I've come up with is I almost feel like not only that, I feel like I have PDFs in the bigger course that I could use as a lead magnet and just start off with that too. And what I feel like is I feel like I almost feel like what I'm coming up with these small solutions is almost, I don't want to say better than the action steps that I have in my course, but they are, mm, they're either on par or maybe they are better. I don't know. I mean, that's kind of what I'm a little nervous about. Like, I almost feel like, oh no, maybe I have to do the entire action step. And I know the action step could be just a topic. The main core of my bigger course is I haven't put that in a lead magnet, and that is better than all the ideas that I have, I think. More valuable. Um, but I guess I just kind of feel like um when I see that when that comes into my perception that like action step, for step 1 and step 2, all of these little small solutions are almost better than the action steps in step 1 and step 2 of my program. I begin to feel this tension of I need to create different action steps and I can't, and then I go into a thought loop of, well, I have to have that done before I get these lead magnets done, and like I have to figure it all out before.
Yeah, I think that's just your figuring out brain trying to just articulate it, but you don't. I mean, you really don't. Like I did, and the PDF that I provided, I mean, I've done it. I've done PDFs where my action steps are completely different because I felt like they would perform better, right? But when I teach it in person, then I get to decide if I want to change anything in the course, right? It's like, and it doesn't matter. I mean, the action steps in the course when we create it, when we created it, you hadn't even beta tested it yet, right? So the action steps essentially are the 3 things that they would need to accomplish, or the 3 topics that you would need to teach in order for them to get through that step. It's not uncommon for you to put it into a different order just for a lead magnet. I wouldn't worry about that. I wouldn't overthink that because the value may be very different. So the value of someone who's never seen you before, never heard of you before, never doesn't even really know what you do. And if it's like a big step, you might have to shift to say, let me make that smaller so that they're not overwhelmed. But if it's a small step, you might have to say, let me just make this broader so it's more value, right? That's a judgment call that you get to make. But it doesn't really change your product overall unless you say, yeah, I'm going to put this in here instead. And there are, if I were to write out my product, I would probably have way more than 3 action steps or topics or guidelines or, things that I would include. That's just the nature of your product evolving, and then just you deciding, what should I teach? What needs to be in here? Because it's really your curriculum is in there, right? In each step. So since your people that you're kind of getting to attract into your course are very different from people that have decided to be a client or a beta tester, I just wouldn't overthink that. And you're going to have track, you're going to be able to keep track of what you do, right? Because you've got all the information. So if you
Mhm.
wanted to change it, anything, you could. It's not set in stone, and you're allowed to color outside the lines and do whatever you want in that regard. You have a lot of freedom there.
Mhm. Okay. Mm, so yeah, so don't overthink that part. Okay. The other thing is I think I'm getting this part. I'm probably overthinking this part too. I have heard that we're supposed to give the the what in our social media content, right? And the how is to be kept in our course. And and then I think last week or last time, I think you clarified for me that in any kind of lead magnet, customer magnet that we give, we're giving a how, not and the what. Not, is that correct? So anything that
Yeah, I mean, we want it to be valuable. Like nobody's going to remember us if we're not giving them something valuable. And that's really what makes a good lead magnet. And the way that I was taught is we want to be giving so much value to someone that it has the ability to change their lives even if they never hire us for anything. And I love that because it gives me permission to serve people without expecting anything in return, right? So when we're expecting something in return, or we're worried to give too much, but honestly, what we get out back from the universe is what we give. So I'm always more excited to give, always, because I know that it'll come back to me at some point. But yes, the lead magnet is valuable, and that has a how in it, and it's up to you to determine what is the most value punch that you can provide, um, in a small bite-sized piece. But yeah, some marketers teach, post about the why, talk about the why, and then sell the how.
right.
Some people just give everything away for free, and they still get people buying their entire products because it's organized, right?
Mhm.
There are some really famous marketers. Um, I don't know if any come to mind right now. Maybe Gary Vee or somebody like that was talking about it, but he'll just give everything away for free. He'll give his why, he'll give his how, he'll give everything. And then at
Yeah.
the end of the day, people are like, I just want all your stuff, but I want it organized. So I'm just going to go buy your course. So, I love giving, and I never really expect anything in return. And when I see the reciprocation working in that give and receive, I know I'm in masculine and feminine energy appropriately, right? So I wouldn't worry about giving too much. The only reason that I don't want to give too much is because things get taken out of context, and I don't want to leave people confused or overwhelmed. And I do want it to be enough for them to do some things on their own, but them to say, wait, I like this person. I want to learn more about what they do. Right. And I want their help specifically. Um, so I don't want to I don't want to lead them on with just a spark of information so they're confused and they have to come to me and say, I need clarity. Like I want them to say, I want to learn more about what you're offering because I like your energy and I like what you teach. Right.
Mhm.
So that's what I do personally. And I think what you do is going to be like, what's in aligned with your values? You know, how much do you want to give? I do say it's better to just give than to worry too much about giving too much because the online world is so oversaturated that people will notice value a lot faster than they're just noticing data or information or random people talking about things. You know, they'll notice, oh, I'm learning, oh, this is helping my life, and then they'll remember you because of that.
That and that makes complete sense to me. Um, and so okay, so two things cross my mind. First is I agree, like I don't want to give too much, if, especially if it leaves them overwhelmed or confused. So that, you know, that comes down to how do I present the information, and in what way. But the other thing is like I would love to share a little bit more about the core of my course, of because the core of it is Ho'oponopono, and it's a modified version of it and how to apply it. I would love to create videos, and I've been tempted to create videos on that on YouTube. And I'm also a little, right, so I'm a little scared, I guess, that I'm giving too much away for free. So if I don't worry about that, I then feel like, well, why am I charging so much then? You know, is it I will say like Dr. Berg, I don't know if you know Dr. Berg, the keto guy. He gives everything. And I bought his course, I bought his coaching program too, because that's what I wanted. I wanted organization because there's so much freaking information there. I don't know if the information I have is that complex, is that detailed and disorganized. I don't really know, and I guess I just kind of feel like, well, then why would I be charging? Like, I guess I feel unaligned with charging so much for a course, and maybe it doesn't have to be as much as 14, grand. Maybe it could just be 3 grand, which is fine. But yeah, I guess, have you ever felt that way before?
Not really, because really at the end of the day, not only do people like when it depends on what you're selling, but people come to me because like they need additional guidance. So even if I give the course away for free, right? Like the intensive is a good example of that. If I give that course away for free, I know people are going to have questions and I know that they're going to want guidance. And that was part of my question about, do I want to open this call up to those people, that are doing that if I decide to do that? Um, because they need additional support, right? So they're paying for your presence essentially too, if you're doing it live or if you're in person. And if it's pre-recorded, generally pre-recorded things go for less, but that's a judgment call on your part. And also you want to do what works, right? You want to do what is bringing you the most amount of money. So you could do, I know I told you that um I know someone that's got a $47 product and they're making $97,000 a month. And I'm like, well, if we did that, then who cares about the $14,000? Like how many people do you want to help, right? So it really is just like a math game. And if you can charge less doing pre-recorded, but your numbers are higher and your sales are higher, then why not do that? That's why I still take one-on-one clients is because I enjoy it. But I only take so many because I want to have the time to build up, whatever else is meant to come through me, right? And whatever feels great, good, and to build a community, right? That's something that I really want to do. So, um, So yeah, I really do feel like that kind of comes down to what you want to offer, what your business model, do you want to work with people one-on-one, or do you just want to sell pre-recorded? But one-on-one with your energy present is just always going to be more expensive, you
Yeah.
know. But
Yeah.
I still wouldn't worry about giving away too much for free because by universal law, the more you give, the more you get, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
So um I wouldn't worry too much about that at all. I would, and I do see people even on TikTok. I actually thought of you because I see a woman on there sharing, that Ho'oponopono or however you pronounce it. And she's talking about it in every one of her videos.
Mhm.
And like I'm happy that people are sharing that stuff, right? Because you know how valuable it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But at the
Yeah.
end
And
of the day,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, but at the end of the day, um, people are going to come to you because you have a specialty, right? You have an expertise, your energy, your knowledge. When you're one-on-one with a person, especially when I do like soul coaching, when I'm one-on-one with a person and the person is my material, I have to do that one-on-one, right? I
Mhm.
have to be able to see who they are in present moment, and I can't record something for them to watch later. And that's where the price comes in to here's my time, etc.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I get that. It's I guess maybe and I feel like I feel like I've decided my model and that makes complete sense to me. And I agree if you're able to sell a digital course and make a lot of money with it, um, it doesn't matter about that high, one-on-one charge. And I guess, maybe the trick is also how do you create, how do you don't know if your course is going to sell that much until you do it, until you make it and then see. So yeah, no, that makes sense. Hi, Angelique.
Hey, sorry I
Yeah,
was a little bit late, but was
we're
I
just
still
chatting.
able to join?
It's good to see you.
Hello, Laura.
We're just talking about lead magnets, and I was going to say too, that's like, when we have products, that's really a product ladder and what we're offering, right? So product menu. So yeah. Anyways, well, how are you, Angelique?
Wonderful. Really good. I was I was really I didn't set my alarm and I was got really engrossed in a project and then suddenly something pulled at me and I went, "Oh my gosh, what time is it?" So, I'm so sorry that I'm a little bit late.
Okay, that's okay. I was just going to move into talk about. So we talked about lead magnets, and I like to call them small valuable solutions because it's how people can understand what we do, right, and how we can kind of pull them off of social media. Um, and I want to tell you a story as I kind of shift gears here because there's this guy who is in the Guinness World Records for selling cars, and I think he sold like 13,000 cars in his career, and he like excelled above and beyond every car salesman. And everybody was like, "How did you sell so many cars?" And what he did is he would get everybody's address and he would send them a letter, a card, and it just said, "I like you," and he would send it around Valentine's Day, around Christmas, around Thanksgiving. He would just send it, and people would inevitably need a car and they would show up and buy a car from him when they needed one. And I think it was like 2/3 of his customers were repeat clients. So whenever they needed a car, they went to him. And that's like a really good example of a nurture sequence, right? I love to send a snail mail. Trust me. I actually, if I had my system down, I would teach people to get addresses and send cards and all kinds of things in the mail because I used to love getting things in the mail when I was a kid, and it got so compact full of junk, but it's not like that anymore. So it's actually better now to send things in the mail than it used to be. So I love sending people mail though. So if I can get enough addresses, I will definitely do that, because I just love making people feel special too. Like, even if I don't get anything out of it long term, it's like, here you go. But that's the same concept as nurturing our leads, because they will forget about us, right? They just do. Like, we all have big, busy lives. And so I wanted to just talk about, I did explain the importance of getting people, from social media. I know, Angelique, you're not really building a social media expansively, but sometimes social media can completely disappear. So people that are relying on that, like using a Facebook group as a funnel, or just making money off of their followers, or getting leads from just one source, maybe YouTube. Man, I've seen just laws change and people completely lose everything, and now they're scrambling trying to make their meals and buy their groceries. So our goal is to get the email address, because that is a really safe way to keep the connection going. So I wanted to show you guys, let me see if I can get my little whiteboard, my new whiteboard here. Can you see this?
Mhm.
You can?
Yeah.
Okay. Because this is, these are statistics that I wanted to share with you guys. And I know I've shared them before, but when people see us on social media, or even if they see an ad, let me make this here. Let me see. Yeah, even if they see an ad, hold on, scratch that. Okay, even if they see an ad on social media and they buy something, that's only 3%. And this is not going to be to scale, so don't judge my ability to do anything. So only 3% are going to see your ad or your product or your program, and they're going to be ready to buy. It's a very small percentage. This is why I don't run ads on social media to sell stuff. I run ads on social media to get leads, because I would rather increase this number by like 1,200% and get more than just 3%. I'd rather not get 30 people for every 1,000. I'd rather get a much higher number. So these people are ready to buy. And arguably, it's actually closer to like 2.5%, but for the sake of this, ready to buy. So these guys are ready. They're like, cool, I like what you're doing. I want to buy that. Whether it comes to tea or any kind of product, like even e-commerce or coaching, etc. And then there's another 7% that are like, I'm almost ready to buy. Maybe they're just not ready that moment, but they're very open to buying, and they just need another day, right? If we miss these, if we're only always talking to these people and trying to get these people on social media, we're missing these people automatically. That's why you want these people and these people in your email. These people will buy right away. The 7% will just wait till tomorrow or the next day, right? There is another 30%. Again, this won't be to scale. There's another 30% of people who are interested, but they're just not ready right now. So they are interested. They just need to know more. They need to just see more. They need to be inspired more. They need to understand you more, etc. So this is why when I put an ad up, I'm getting the leads. I'm getting the leads in my email. I would much rather send emails to all of these people, get these people that are buying now, these people that are buying in 3 days, and these people that are interested, and maybe they'll buy in a month, maybe they'll buy in 2 months, maybe they'll buy in 3 months, doesn't matter. There's another 30% that are not interested at all, right? So they just say no. And then there's another 30% that would not take your product if it were free. So this is why we want these people off of our list as soon as possible with unsubscribes, but we want to really cater to these 40% right here. So we're going from 3% just trying to sell on social media. This is why I say, let's not sell on social media, you guys. And, I don't see you guys doing it, but I do see people doing it. And I'm like, how do you not realize that without their email addresses and without educating them and without creating relationships and without nurturing them, we're missing out on 37% of people that actually do need what you want. They just aren't ready right now. And we can respect them and we can honor them and we can say, take as much time as you need. I'm going to keep emailing you. And if they don't like it, they'll go here. And if we couldn't pay them to take it, then they'll probably unsubscribe, right? So this is why it's so important to have email addresses, like even if you're getting them by hand and you're sending individual emails just to keep people up to date, because continuing to post on social media is not a nurture campaign. Even if they see your ad once every month, they're also overstimulated with like cat videos. Everything just drowns out. So if social media were to disappear, you still have these 40% of people from your leads and your emails, etc. And this is how you really just build the relationships and you build connections and you build a lot of really amazing things. Even TikTok, where I'm able to engage with a lot of people and I'm able to, like, I've already met some really amazing people. And one lady, I'm going to do a Zoom with her because she's kind of, I don't know, we don't know yet. We'll find out when we meet. But it's because of this that I'm able to stay in touch with her. She bought one of my my lead magnets, so she's able to see what I'm doing. And then she messaged me and she said, hey, let's do a Zoom and etc. So she wasn't ready to do that, a month ago or whatever. So does this make sense? Do you guys have any questions about why it's so important that we respect people and that we honor them and that we are actually doing them a favor by allowing them to get what we have for free, but then also to give them the time and the space that's necessary for them to decide this, right? Because they also, by the way, move from like no to yes, and then they do move to like, I wouldn't take this if you paid it. Oh, wait a minute, I just realized that I'm on a spiritual journey, right? So they do evolve with time as well. So that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's
Do you have any
trust building.
What's that?
It's trust building. You're
Absolutely.
building trust with them.
Absolutely. And I wish that there was another way. We do mail, we do send mail for the schools and we do email. And luckily we still have email, because if we didn't, I don't know how else we would get in touch with people consistently. But we also have text messages with the CRMs and stuff these days, right? So we can text people, and I do get a lot of texts from people like Brendan Burchard and whoever else sends texts to me regularly. But I love to have good stuff to read in my email box too. So I love when people are like giving me the time and the space to decide whether or not I want to buy something, and they're showing me who they are. And that's why I'm also a big advocate of like writing your own emails so that they're coming from you, and you're honoring your creativity and your heartfelt messaging, not hiring someone else to do that unless they're 100% in alignment with your business, right? Because there is a disconnect, I notice, when the messages just aren't aligned with the energy of the business. So yeah. And so Angelique, I'm just curious, so I'm going to ask you, are you still moving on your website, or are you capturing emails or anything like that? Or do you have an email?
No, I haven't done that yet. I'm working on a few other things. And the reason being is, and I thought of how I would describe this to you the other day for this meeting. I'm moving from the esoteric, the inner, to the exoteric, the outer. So that's a huge transition. So I know that the privacy and the quiet and the peace that I have will soon be not that way. And so um, I'm gathering, I have everything I need. I do. And it's just so when it's time to, and I don't know if it's presenting. It's not really a question of presenting the right product. It's just, I guess just throwing a landing page up. That would be the first step. Um, but yeah, when it's time, that'll happen. I'm going through that transition right now myself because that will be the cost for me of this quiet and this peace. And so right now I've been guided to just really take that time and balance myself because this will be a big shift and a change for me. And I have to deal with it in a better way than I would right now because I like my peace. So, and I know that's gonna change very quickly, and it'll be literally the opposite of what I experience right now. My life always goes in those cycles, so I'm just preparing myself for it.
Well, that's good. That's good. I did.
I
I
I
like.
hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. One thing I thought of is, when we allow ourselves the space to do whatever it is that we need to do, I always come back knowing that I'm working on the right thing instead of
Yeah,
just working on the wrong thing for months before I'm like, oh, I was just in doing mode. I should have listened to myself and taken a break so that I could see where I was at on the map and shift my energy. So I would much rather take the space that I need at any time to, prepare me for what I'm moving into or to prepare me to work on the right thing because there is a
yeah,
really good feeling when you know that you're working on the right thing instead of just spending time on whatever.
and I know that this peace and tranquility that I've been put in right now is here for a reason. And so I'm utilizing it to the best of my ability to just prepare for the huge shift that's coming. And I've been feeling it coming now for months. So it's shortly coming. It is.
I- I'm wondering, Angelique, what is there a reason why you can't keep the peace and tranquility while you experience?
It's adapting to a big shift to a big shift and adjustment. So I'll try to keep it as peaceful and tranquil as I can. It might be completely peaceful and tranquil. You're right. I might be putting that as my own hurdle in front of me. Like this will all be gone. So get prepared, prepare for the worst. And it might actually be the easiest transition. I'm gonna review that. My thinking on that. Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I say take it with you if you can.
Yeah, no, I definitely will. Most assuredly. But yeah, so that's
Well,
just the spot that I'm in right now.
yeah, well, I always like to ask where everybody's at because I don't, some people don't tell me when they're stuck, right? And I don't want anybody to be stuck. And some people will lay logs before their feet and still not tell me they're stuck, right? Like we do that all the time to ourselves. And maybe they're scared, maybe they're not ready, maybe they think they need more healing. Ready is an illusion. I say all of these things, but that doesn't make them budge. So I just like to make sure
Right,
that if you're stuck, like, I tell everybody, like, coming to somebody and saying I'm stuck is a self-responsibility thing, right? Because if we're stuck, it's usually just some strange thought that we're having, or we can't, there's a wall that we can't see. So luckily, we do have each other to say, well, have you looked at this or have you looked at that, and really kind of we can get into strategy, we can get into alignment, we can get into how to, we can get into clarity, right? We can get into soul coaching, we can get into any kind of conversation that eventually will shine some kind of light or, create a space of insight for someone to say, oh, that's what it is. I can't believe, I was looking at that like that. Like a couple of things. Robert and I had a conversation because he was really stressed out about Google ads. And he said, I've been trying to do this for months. I've been trying to do this for months. And I said, well, why is it taking you so long? And we had a big conversation. We actually did a podcast episode on this yesterday. And it's because he was in a creative space while trying to do an analytical thing. He's trying to create headlines and create captions and create heartfelt, interesting content while he's having to do, you know, whatever else Google makes you do when you're doing ads. And so we talked about the differences between those two, you know, the art and the science of business and marketing, because when you know what mindset you're in, it can be really easy for us to shift back and forth and also to utilize whatever strength we're in. So he didn't realize that's why he was stuck. He just got to the creative space right when Google made him push all these buttons, or right, you know, Google made him push all of these buttons in a complete analytical, scientific mindset, and then said, okay, be creative for like 5 minutes and do all this. And then he would just quit every time. And he's like, I don't know why I'm doing that. And I said, oh, this is why, right? And that was why we recorded that, you know, the art and business of, or the art and science of business and marketing, because we perform differently depending on what mindset we're in. So yeah, I just
That
like to make,
makes total sense. It pulls you
yeah,
right out of that creative flow. And you just want to go back into that because that's where all your ideas were. And suddenly you can't articulate them and put them on that, analytical space. That makes total sense.
and that's another reason we get stuck, right? Is because we don't
Yeah.
realize that we're trying to do a creative thing from an analytical state of mind, or an analytical thing from a creative state of mind. And yeah, so sometimes we're like, oh, I need to step back and just put a lot of value into something, and then I get to figure out how to push the buttons and make it make sense and get it delivered to people, right? So I just like to make sure no one's treading water or stagnant.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Of course. Well, does anybody have any other questions or anything to share? Small group today. Okay. So the Light Workers Lounge is on the 1st. I'm thinking I might invite some people in for free just to see, you know, I don't know what to expect. I always worry about doing that, but I just haven't had a lot of time to market anything because I've just been, you know, I have multiple businesses that we're running, and I'm just talking to the list that I have. So I'm going to shift a couple things up. So I'm really excited to meet new people though. So I'm really confident that, you know, bringing connections together and just seeing who the universe brings together. I just haven't been focusing on the community so much, but I'm going to see what I can do about that moving forward. And yeah, so I'll just keep you guys informed as to, you know, what comes up. But if there's new people in here, don't be surprised. And if there's not, don't be surprised. I'll just see what I can get done in the next few weeks. So that's where I'm at right now, though. Oh, okay. All right, ladies. Well, thanks for being here, and I'll see you on the 1st, hopefully, which I think is Tuesday. Well, yes, is Tuesday.
Thank
Thank
you.
you for your time, Laura. I appreciate it and all your sharing. It's been very helpful.
Yep, you're welcome. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Laura. There's always a reason. So I'm very glad I was able to jump in when I did. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. Well, enjoy your evening, and I'll see you guys next time.
Have a good
Bye-bye.
night. Bye, Angelique.
Bye, Valia.